morning, everyone. Welcome to this new series of Kubernetes crash course from zero to k8s hero, where we will briefly discuss what Kubernetes is, why do we use Kubernetes, and is it useful to Kubernetes, and what are the advantages and disadvantages as such. So we'll go through complete discussion within this playlist where I will start from the very basic, why do we even need Kubernetes, and we'll advance through the topic and we'll deploy our own cluster using local systems such as Minikube and other as well. But once we finish up with the series, we'll also deploy our own Kubernetes cluster in major cloud provider, for example, maybe AWS or Azure, haven't even decided yet. But that's for another series. For now, we have to understand what Kubernetes is and why do we even need it. So this part will be more of a what is Kubernetes and that intro for absolute beginners. So if I have to start, I'll start with a basic example. Have you ever wondered how companies like Netflix or for example Spotify manage to run thousands of applications on thousands of servers without breaking or even crashing? How do they do it? Well, behind the scene, there's a powerful system making all this possible, and it's called Kubernetes. And today, we are going to break it down in the simplest possible way, so no confusion, no jargon, but just pure clarity. So, let's go back in time, let's rewind a bit. Back in the day, when we used to deploy our applications directly into physical machines, we had to manage everything manually: memory, storage, crashes, database, everything you have to do on your own. And that can be painful because doing all those steps all day long can be painful. And if something breaks, you have to start this whole cycle all again. And that's not really an optimized approach to do this. And then comes virtual machines. They improve things for sure, but they were bulky and slow. And after invention of virtual machines came Docker. So I think most of you know by now what Docker is. So Docker simply lets us put our apps into a neat little containers. These containers are fast, portable, and isolated from other things. But here's the problem. Imagine managing hundreds of containers across dozens or even hundreds of different VMs. You'd go mad, right? You don't know, or if something goes wrong, debugging the errors and solving them is a bit of pain. So it's like let's understand this with analogy. It's like running a restaurant with 100 chefs all cooking at the same time and no manager to coordinate who does what and when and what to do. That's container without orchestration. So Kubernetes, I think now it all will make sense that Kubernetes is an orchestration tool. That's how we define, or that's the definition tool, and that's what orchestration means. So if I have to go in bit of detail, so this is where Kubernetes steps in. Kubernetes, often also called as k8s, is an open source orchestration system. So think of it as a manager of a restaurant or captain of a ship who manages everything, from what to do, when to do, and how to do, and all those things. And it makes sure containers are deployed, running, updated, restarted when needed automatically. So self healing, self deploying, self running, everything is managed by Kubernetes once you have the cluster up and running. Now, if you have to learn a bit of history about Kubernetes, then it was eventually built by Google, then CNCF obviously took over the project, and now they are managing this project. And now this tool is used by nearly every tech company out there, as demand for microservices architect is growing, demand for Kubernetes is increasing as well. Now, in today's scenario, when AI is almost in all of the applications, deploying those AI solutions is much more easier than Kubernetes. And this is very useful if you're into the field of ML ops or DevOps. Kubernetes is something that you should know. So, because obviously Kubernetes helps developer focus on writing code while it handles the rest of the thing for you. So, once again, what exactly Kubernetes can do? In simple terms, it can deploy your containers. If something crashes, it self heals, it heals automatically. It scales up when more users come to your website and scales down when those users leave. It does enrolling updates. So what does that mean? It restarts one container at a time without any downtime. It helps your service talk to each other. So let's say you have multiple services or multiple microservices deployed within your cluster. Those services can talk to each other through something called Kubernetes service, and you don't have to expose them to the internet, and these services can talk. So that's really powerful and secure. So once again, Kubernetes isn't just for tech giants. Sure, Netflix, Airbnb, and Uber, Google, Meta, they use it. But even startups and indie developers run their app on k8s because it saves your time and it's so simple. Setting up Kubernetes cluster can be a bit of pain, but once it's done, it's all good. And most importantly, it's cost effective as well, and obviously mental bandwidth as well. Now, obviously, there are some myths around Kubernetes, so let's break them. So, one common myth that I see in the forum or if I read, that Kubernetes is only for big companies. Nope, even if you are a small startup, if you have a small team, Kubernetes can work great for you as well. Another thing that I see in forums, do I need to master Docker first? No. It helps if you know Docker, but once you start learning Kubernetes, you'll sort of learn both along the way. So instead of mastering Docker individually and then coming to Kubernetes, why not learn both at the same time? Because they really go hand in hand if you look at them. Now, last is, I know why most people don't even start with Kubernetes, is Kubernetes too hard to learn? Yes, it can be complex, but that's why I'm making this series, to make it even easy. So get along with me and learn Kubernetes in an easiest possible way and in a fun way. Now, what we'll do in the next video, we'll set up our own Kubernetes in our own local machine using something called Minikube and run our very first container. All hands on. I'll show you line by line what I mean by this, and you can do this along with me. So I'm keeping this playlist very simple, where I'll explain something, create a demo for it. So you are not just learning theory, but learning practical ways to do it as well. So once again, if you're ready to become k8s Ninja, hit that like button, subscribe, and tell me in the comments, what do you want me to build with Kubernetes? And once we are finished up with this playlist, I'll pick the most liked comments and we'll build something interesting and maybe deploy it in our own cloud Kubernetes cluster, maybe in AWS or Azure. So thank you so much and see you in the next video.